It's the year 2060. They warned us, and we should have listened. I wish we all would have listened. The trash has gotten so bad that it piles into the streets so bad you can't even drive through it. We can't eat any of the fish because they're all too contaminated to eat them anyways. We've gotten so bad that we have to eat human-made food. We can't eat locally grown. All of the fields and the crops in them have died. And don't even think about eating anything like fruits or vegetables because only the rich can afford those. So say that this was the year 2060. Would these facts change the way that you live your life now? Do you think that they're worth it to change the way you live your life right now? We are all facing a huge problem, and that problem is that everyone at the local, national, and global level needs to start recycling their waste. Opponents to this argument might say that recycling isn't convenient enough. It might not be, but here's 3 reasons why you should recycle even if it's not that convenient. There are many logical reasons why someone should recycle. Recycling is important now more than ever, and we're going to take a look at that and what you can do to make a difference in your community. First off, let's start with logical reasons. There are all sorts of reasons why you should recycle, such as the fact that it's good for the environment, plants and animals, the atmosphere, and ourselves. If we go beneath the surface, we can find that there are a few more reasons. According to some research that I did from the Environmentor, they said, when we think of landfills, we often conjure up a false impression. Landfills are kind of like gigantic tubs. When they're full, they cap and with plastic or concrete, interrupting the decomposition process. Basically, what they're saying is that when the landfill gets too full, they just decide to cover it with plastic or concrete, which is, interrupting the decomposition, and it just sits there and it never fully decomposes. There were also lots of other good reasons that they gave for why you should recycle, including that recycling paper helps to save trees, recycling glass saves oil, recycling helps improve water quality, recycling helps to protect wildlife, and it's just good for the overall global health population. Next on, following up with that, the many reasons you should consider recycling, let's talk about the one factor looming over all of our heads, which is time. You might think that recycling is a relatively new idea, but it's really not. It's been going on since way before, like the 1900s, but from where I found, it's talking about the 1900s before that. So, some might argue that it's a new idea, but it's not. Recycling was huge. It just wasn't being broadcast as much as it is today. If we think about it, during the 1900s, there weren't like private jets or trains or planes or any of that the way that there is nowadays, so ideas didn't move as quickly. A good way to back this up is a story that I once heard from an older woman. She told me that when she was a kid, she didn't have the money in her family to buy a new dress every time she needed one for a different event. So instead, what her mom would do is she would find different scraps of fabric laying around the house and she would start to upcycle her clothes. What that means is that she would just adjust the clothing to whatever event she needed it for. To help confirm this, I read in an article called from Time magazine, as the American economy grew after World War II, so did consumers' thirst for disposable cans, bottles, and single-use products, which piled up over time. They also said that what happened in the 1960s and 70s wasn't that recycling was invented, but the reasons for it changed. Rather than recycle in order to get the most out of materials, Americans began to recycle in order to deal with the massive amounts of waste that produced during the second half of the 20th century. Now that we've covered some history and reasons, let's keep pushing through and about what you can do to help. According to the cityofcouncilbluffs.iowa.gov, they say that the City of Council Bluffs offers residents the luxury of curbside recycling. Recycling is picked up on the same day as garbage and yard waste. They also provide every household with 2 blue bins that are supposed to stay with the house, but you can buy additional bins for $8 a piece. You can also buy lids for those bins at $4. There are lots of different things that you can recycle in those bins, including newspapers, junk mail, magazines, books, cardboard, brown paper bags, all types of different glassware, metals, specifically tin cans, and plastics, numbers 1 through 5. Today we went over three big reasons, mostly the logical reasons that you should recycle, why recycling is important now more than ever, and what you can do in your own communities to make a difference. Moral of the story is that it's not the year 2060 yet, but let's hope that by the time we get there, we're seeing a lot more of this and a lot less of that. Thank you.